Okay, so I'm trying something a little bit new today because it's Saturday and I'm wandering around the house wondering what to do with myself. So, luckily, I would say I'm very fortunate in that sometimes I get in my email compositions that are written by friends of mine, usually on Twitter. They're friends from Twitter. And that happened to me the other day. A friend by the name of Peter Amsel, I hope that I'm saying it correctly, um, he emailed me this piece called Murmur. And it's very short. And he said, you know, play it if you would like. I'd love to hear a recording. So I thought today would be a really good day to do what I call a quick learn piece because I think his piece is very accessible and it's very, very pattern oriented. So I think this is a perfect piece to use as an example. So you should be able to see on the screen on your right some music. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about it as I go. I have looked at it a bit, just so you know. I don't want to totally mislead you here. I have looked at it so I know what I'm about to do. Like I said, it's a very pattern-oriented piece, which lends itself beautifully to the title of the piece, which is Murmur. Because to me, a lot of times when you hear murmuring, a lot of the sounds sound the same, right? And you can't necessarily distinguish specific words, that type of thing. So as we see at the beginning here, he starts with this one motive, which is, so it's an oscillating fourth that ends with the third. And my dog will sing, sorry. He's part of the package. And then he does it again in the right hand. And then in the fourth measure, you're going to get it again, but it's a variation of it. And then, so this is the second line. That's just like the opening. And then, it's going to change at the beginning of the third line. We're going to have a change of the pattern. But so for the first two lines, that is quite straightforward. You're literally using the same three notes, E flat, F, and B flat. That also tells me that I can use the exact same fingerings. I'm not going to be moving. So that's a way of releasing my brain to say, no problemo. I have marked a second finger here on this F because that's actually going to set me up well for what's coming up next. So I don't even have to move my hand for the next thing either. So let's go ahead now, and before we move on to that next section, I want to look at the left hand. So it's very similar, right? But there's one extra note, which is this E. So, I haven't figured out a fingering yet. Yes, I have. So, I think what I'm going to do, and I'll explain why in a sec. So, I'm going to start with the fifth finger. So 5, 2, and then cross under the thumb on the A so that my hand is in a position to just go down the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then here, same thing, right? It's the same thing repeated. So I'll do the same fingering. Now, that leaves my hand in a perfect position to just do third finger here. So for these three measures, we're dealing with F, G, and A. So that G and the E are sort of a new addition into this hand. So let me play it from the beginning. We have rest, and then the next entrance on the second line. Now, I'm kind of remembering what we did with the right hand. The right hand was just all kind of that oscillating pattern. So my thought is this in the left hand. It's very simple and straightforward, but perhaps that's kind of a word that we can get out of the murmuring, yeah? So let's put the hands together and see what we've got. And I should say too, I should start, I like to try to be as musical as possible from the get-go of learning a piece. And the composer does indicate to pedal at my own discretion. So he definitely wants pedal and doesn't want it dry. So let's make sure we enter that into the picture. My left hand didn't sound. Let's try it again. On the third line, we're going to be propelled into something a little bit different. I did notice that I changed my fingering because I didn't have it marked. I think I do want to do the correct fingering, but I just marked it, so next time I'll be ready to do that. All right, now moving on. So like I said, all of a sudden we have a bit of a change in the patterns and in the harmonies. So in the right hand, all of a sudden we have a new note. We have an E flat that's thrown in the mix. But if you look at the top notes, we're dealing with basically the same oscillating figure. So let me do it without that E flat first. 3. So it goes on for a super long time, right? How long does it go on? I didn't even notice this before when I looked at it. Okay, so it goes all the way to the end of measure 25. So, with the exception of measure 11 has this E flat. It has just 2 E flats. And then it goes back into the pattern. So let's put that together. So now it just goes on a cycle. So now the measure 20, E flat again. Then it drops it. Okay, so I'm going to circle those occurrences of the E flat because that's unique. And now I'm going to move on to looking at what the left hand is doing here. My dog is intrigued over there. He's standing on all fours on the couch. You want to lay down? Okay, so left hand. We have a lot of different material coming up in the left hand. So this is exciting. And it's not surprising because, right, Peter set us up right here. Whoops. Kind of to say, perhaps it's this left hand that's going to be significant coming up. So starting in measure 11. Got a low G, which is the lowest note we've had thus far. Ah, here's what we had up here, right? And then this line here is the same as this line here, a scale going down. So I might put a thumb there because that's what I did earlier. That's not necessarily something I have to do, but I'm thinking of it. All right, then the beginning of the fourth line, we have this octave line. And then he's going to repeat it. Then it goes all the way down to F. And then back to D, E flat, F, D, E flat, F. Okay? So still have a lot of repetition in here, but it seems like he's expanding the range a bit. All right, so let's put the hands together. Kind of marking off my sections here. To the pattern. There's one place. No, it really doesn't break. Okay, so let me go back to the beginning of that section. Nope. Okay, so we reached yet another section. All right, so here's the beginning of this next section. And as you can see, the right hand is actually going to break out from what it has been doing. So we have quite a few more notes, but as you'll see again, it's going to be very pattern oriented and repetitious. So it's a little bit awkward of a pattern. So I'm trying to figure out a fingering. I think if I do thumb 2 and then 4, 5, 1, 2. And I kind of just ride on top of the keys. I was curious about what the dynamic is here. It looks like it should be still mezzo piano. So I'll mark that in. And then here's another new pattern. But I'm basically still in the same hand position. I want to keep things as simple as possible. So if I keep that first finger or second finger on the F throughout this whole thing, and thumb on the E flat, I should be good. I should probably switch to the next page, shouldn't I? Okay, let me move my picture. All right, so now we're up here. Okay, so I can't show you the preceding two measures, but it's this pattern, which is the same as this right here. So anyway, okay. And then this is the same as that. So it does it. Two measures, two measures, two measures, two measures. Then here it looks like the pattern changes again, right? And that's interesting because the pattern at the beginning of the measure, you have this descending line, is different here. So they're a little bit different. And then it goes back. Yep. Two measures of that. And then same. Two measures of that. Back. Same. Then it looks like the pattern changes again here. Don't know if I should say that's a new section or not. We'll find out here. But let's go ahead and stop there for now, and now look at the left hand and what it's doing. You can't see the first two measures, but it's an F octave, G octave, and then back down to A, up to A, then back down to G, sudden in this measure here, we have a little bit more movement in the rhythm. Which actually, he had that on the first page as well. If you can see here too, so that rhythm's coming back. And then here, the pattern changes at the end of that measure. That's interesting. So then here, it's the same as this, but an octave lower. But then it returns. Oops. Same. Yeah, I really think this is, the next part is a continuation, but we're, just for simplicity's sake, we'll stop there for that section. All right, let's put the hands together. So I'm really going to keep in mind the patterns, but I want to really note where the pattern changes, because that's something that's offering a place to do something interesting musically. And then also really pay attention to that left hand, because I think it's the left hand that has the bulk of the melodic material. So this is two measures before the top of the page. So there's a couple tricky sections. This lick in the right hand is a little bit awkward. So I'm going to take a look at that. The other thing is that, what was I going to say? Before I had actually taken the E flats in the right hand with my left hand, but I think because we're not going to do that here, we can't because the left hand is way down lower. I'm not going to do that here. So, let's see. And I actually think in those measures, the right hand does kind of come out of the murmuring and is melodically interesting. And then it goes back to murmuring. Okay, so there's the end of that section, sort of. And in a minute, after I get through all the notes, then we'll put it all together and see if we can really give it a sense of architecture and meaning. Or more meaning, I should say. All right, so oops. So now, okay, all right, now I'm here. We have a new pattern that emerges in the left hand. Have we had that before? Not exactly. We've had hints of it because in the first part, we had this line here, the descending line. So that comes back, I think, here too. Down a step. And this all fits beautifully in a five finger hand position. Yay! Okay. What is the right hand doing through all this? Well, what do you know? Does this look familiar? And then, oh, this is very interesting. This is sort of a combination of two different patterns. I'm looking over here. I don't know if we've had the exact same thing as the beginning of that pattern. Oh, wait. Yes. Yeah. Oh, that's where we are. Sometimes I get lost in my own pattern hunting. But anyway, this for certain is the same as this here. That's interesting. And it kind of creates a little bit of a duet, possibly, with the left hand going down. Does it again? So it's very repetitive. So I think I should be able to put that together very easily. So starting from right here, that's where I'm going to start right now. Let's put it together. And I should start a little bit slower. When I put the hands together, I do try to slow it down a little bit. Voila. Then at the end, what do you know? Here's that opening motive, opening motive. All right, very straightforward. So I'm just gonna play. I didn't know which score to look at. Okay, let me try that again. Uh-oh. Oh my gosh, so silly. Try it again. And he doesn't say to slow down, so I'm gonna assume he doesn't want us to because he slows it down rhythmically anyway. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and go back and I wish I could show all 3 pages at the same time. That's really frustrating. I don't think I can. Oh, sorry. So I guess just listen and enjoy. I'm gonna come up with a game plan. So just from even this little bit of work with it, what I noticed is that the beginning part is quite simple. It introduces all the patterns in their kind of simplistic form. And with a little bit of these words that come from the bass part, from the left hand. And then as you get into the middle section, it gets a little bit more, the harmonic language gets a little bit more rich and intricate. And you've got a little bit more that comes out of that right hand and unifies with the left hand to have a little conversation. That's pretty cool. So I want to focus on that. So I think that's going to be the arc of it. And then at the end, it just kind of comes back down. I want to, before I start, look at where are the loudest dynamics, softest dynamics. The softest dynamic you get is piano. The loudest dynamic you get in here looks to be, well, sustained, it's a mezzo forte. Oh, no, forte. So at the very end, you've got a sustained forte for 1 measure. So it's a very subdued piece, which makes sense because usually with murmuring, you don't get like shouting. So I'm trying to think of, I don't have my metronome with me. I'm probably a little bit under tempo right now, but I'm gonna go with it. I don't wanna push my luck too much at this very early stage of working on it. So here's Murmur. We're gonna try running through it, see how it goes. Okay, so that didn't go as well as I would have liked to, but it was a good little experiment. And I know that now in that middle section, that's the section I'm gonna have to really kind of tweak a little bit and figure out what I'm gonna do physically to make it work more comfortably. But that was a fun first go at Peter Amsel's piece, Murmur. All right, see you later, everybody. See if I can figure out how to stop taping.